A quiet uncertainty hangs over this investigation, and it begins with a troubling claim. A key interviewee insists cadaver dogs will not find any remains on the property being searched, no matter how many times the area is revisited or how many resources are poured into it. That assertion alone forces the public to pause, recalibrate their expectations, and question the real scope of the search. Before we go deeper, make sure you hit the subscribe button and turn on your notification bell so you never miss the next update as this developing story continues to shift. The interviewee's confidence is not casual or offhanded. It comes from months of observing the search effort on the ground. From their perspective, the land has been combed repeatedly. Volunteers have spent countless hours clearing brush, checking creek beds, navigating steep terrain, and revisiting map sections that were marked and logged multiple times. With every step, the emotional toll grew heavier. These were not just tasks. They were hopes stretched across unforgiving terrain. But after so many passes yielding nothing, frustration has evolved into a hardened belief. If anything was ever there, it would have been found by now. That sentiment has now taken root among residents who watch the search unfold, especially as weather, time, and natural elements drastically alter the landscape. Leaves have fallen, vegetation has shifted, and the environment has reshaped itself several times since the disappearance. To many, the idea that a cadaver dog could still isolate a viable scent feels less realistic with each passing week, and the interviewee's skepticism reflects that emotional erosion. Yet this skepticism is complicated by another uncomfortable truth. Cadaver dogs weren't deployed until 3 months after the disappearance, a delay that continues to raise eyebrows. The public often assumes that K-9 units arrive immediately when a person goes missing, especially when the case involves a possible fatality. 3 months is a long stretch of time, long enough for weather systems to roll through, for storms to redistribute surface materials, for animals to disturb the ground, and for the scent profile of human decomposition to weaken or disperse. When investigators finally brought out the dogs, many community members reacted with a mix of confusion and frustration. Why so late? Why, after so many environmental changes had reshaped the very clues the dogs were meant to detect? Parents, neighbors, and volunteers asked these questions not out of distrust, but out of sheer bewilderment, struggling to understand why an investigative tool known for its time sensitivity was used only after the critical window had already begun to close. Behind the scenes, however, the delay was not as simple or as avoidable as it looked. Specialized K-9 units are not the same as standard patrol dogs, and their deployment requires complex chain of coordination. Cadaver dogs do not sit on standby waiting for any missing person call. They are often part of regional or statewide task forces, staffed by handlers who train year-round and schedule deployments across multiple jurisdictions. Some dogs are certified to work only certain environments, wooded terrain, water recovery, debris fields, or open land, so matching the correct unit to the specific landscape takes time. Additionally, the handlers themselves are often volunteers who juggle specialized search and recovery work with full-time jobs. Booking them involves transportation logistics, briefing sessions, and coordination with forensic specialists to ensure the search is both effective and legally admissible. And then there is the science. Cadaver dogs detect decomposition scent, a chemical signature fundamentally different from what live-scent dogs chase. While patrol dogs track fresh human odor trails, sweat, skin cells, or disturbance of vegetation, cadaver dogs are trained to locate volatile organic compounds emitted during the breakdown of human tissue. These compounds behave differently depending on temperature, soil composition, moisture levels, and the structure of the landscape. If a body is buried, entangled in roots, submerged in water, or shielded by layers of debris, the scent rises slowly or unpredictably. And when months pass, the scent becomes fragmented or diluted, making it increasingly difficult for even the most skilled dogs to interpret. This is especially challenging in open terrain where wind channels can disperse odor into confusing patterns, or in regions where dense vegetation traps scent in pockets far from the actual source. That leads to one of the most critical problems in this case. Delayed deployment severely reduces scent reliability. Odor doesn't stay put. It migrates, weakens, disperses, or is overtaken by stronger environmental signatures such as decaying vegetation, wildlife activity, or surface water contamination. Sunlight intensifies evaporation. Heavy rainfall washes away surface clues. Seasonal shifts rearrange soil density and moisture, causing decomposition gases to travel differently. Each passing week reshapes the scent field until the original trail is no longer recognizable. 4 cadaver dogs, whose accuracy depends on the integrity of this chemical pattern. That delay becomes a monumental obstacle. Even the best K9s cannot pull data from conditions that simply no longer exist. Despite this, investigators defend the timing, citing legal constraints, contamination concerns, and operational logistics that shape the timeline. They explain that certain areas could not be entered without court-approved warrants, especially when search zones included private land not directly linked to the missing individual. Entering too early could jeopardize admissibility in court or violate property rights. There were also contamination fears. Searchers worried that premature activity on the property could disrupt potential evidence before forensic teams were ready to process it. Additionally, investigators had multiple leads unfolding simultaneously, requiring them to prioritize locations based on the most credible intelligence at the time. In their view, the delay was not negligence but procedural necessity. The renewed searches that followed months later were not random. They were prompted by new tips, recovered items, and reassessed intelligence, some of which had emerged from interviews, digital data reviews, and community reports. Investigators revisited early assumptions, remap high-interest zones, and cross-reference environmental patterns with updated search theories. When new items surfaced, objects whose relevance remains under analysis, they triggered a fresh wave of activity. These developments reignited both hope and tension within the community, especially among volunteers who had grown emotionally drained after months of searching without resolution. Even with all this renewed effort, experts emphasize that K9 indications must always be confirmed through forensic analysis, and a negative indication does not prove that no remains exist. Dogs are highly accurate, but they are not infallible. A positive signal can be influenced by old scent pools, residual transfer, or even wildlife interference, all of which require scientific verification. Meanwhile, a lack of alert does not guarantee absence. It only means a dog did not detect a target under conditions present at that moment. Terrain saturation, weather volatility, external odors, or even handler misinterpretation can affect performance.